Hello and welcome to this episode of Numeril. I'm your host, Damon the Real Nailer, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to look at the components of prophecy and we're going to analyze the three elements that make up the full gift of prophecy. The first element we want to look at is entitled the revelation, or it is called revelation. And this is the act of revealing or communicating divine truth, an astonishing or enlightening disclosure shared by God. This is the first component or element of the gift of prophecy. It is the presentation of divine information in some form. In essence, when we look at this part of prophecy, we're dealing with God revealing something to an individual or a group of people. And typically, there are several forms of prophecy. To be specific, there are four forms of prophecy, and they are tongues and interpretations, dreams, visions, and word prophecy. And when God is going to reveal something, He's normally going to reveal it to us in one of those four forms. So the first component of the gift of prophecy is revelation or the revealing. And now we want to go on to the next component of prophecy, which is interpretation. This is the analyzation and clarification of information messages by combining the facts to establish truth. Once prophecy or revelation is put forward, there's always a need for a proper interpretation of the prophetic message so people can know what to expect and how to react. Improper interpretation leads to confusion, chaos, and oftentimes unfulfilled prophecies. Now, when we look at this component of prophecy and looking at that statement, we're analyzing what you would call conditional prophecies. And these are prophecies where God put them forward, and there's normally what you call an if-then clause. Whereas if you do this, then God says or He promises that He's going to do this or the other thing. And so those kinds of prophecies really need a proper interpretation so that people can fulfill them. Even beyond conditional prophecies, when we look at what's called predestined or destined prophecies, they need to be properly interpreted as well, because if you don't interpret them as well, when the thing or the events occur, then people are confused, and you'll have one of the problems people have with prophecy is that they either say things haven't happened that have happened, or they say things have happened that have not happened. They get it twisted. They have it vice versa. And so that's something we don't want to do. We want to make sure that we are accurately aligning all the prophetic pieces together, putting them together to make that perfect puzzle so that people can understand exactly what's going on. And once we get the proper interpretation, it leads to the last component of the gift of prophecy, which is illumination. What is illumination? It's the receiving of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as a result of an explanation or interpretation. Once the correct interpretation is given, then everyone is confident and competent regarding what is to come and how to respond, thus accurately fulfilling prophecy. Here again, we go back to the concept of the conditional prophecy. Many of our lives are altered, and many of us, we have aborted and missed prophecies because of this concept here, not understanding the full and the three components of prophecy, thinking or just knowing that there's one, which is revelation. And because we didn't get all of the proper pieces of the puzzle, because the Bible says we know in part, we prophesy in part, we didn't get all of those and put them together so that we could get the proper interpretation, so then we could know what to do because we'd understand. Then many of the prophecies that have been spoken over our lives didn't come to pass. But when we look at the predestined or destined prophecies, even though we might not understand them, they will come to pass, and we'll have what I call retrospective wisdom, whereas we can look back and say, well, okay, this is how it happened. In the case with Jesus, that's what happened. Some people had the perception and had the accurate interpretation of all of the miracles, the signs and the wonders, and all of the activities He was doing that were fulfilling the Old Testament prophecies. But many of them were blind. And so those who were blind at that time, later on, they were able to look back and say, okay, well, yes, He did fulfill all of the prophecies. So that indeed lets us know and confirms that He was the Messiah. And so, that's a prime example of having an accurate interpretation so that you can have the accurate illumination. And so, those are the three components of prophecy: revelation, interpretation, and illumination. We hope you've enjoyed this segment of Numeril. Tune in next time for part 2, where we're going to look at another aspect of the gift of prophecy. Thank you, and may the Lord richly bless you.